Hello students. Today today we are going to discuss on the topic of our first flight textbook, A Letter to God. A Letter to God is the chapter which is written by G.L. Fuentes. When we talk about G.L. Fuentes, G.L. Fuentes is a Mexican novelist. He was a short story writer, he was a poet, and he was an editor. His stories were seen to be exciting, humorous, and symbolic of Mexico. He was born on 17th of November 1895 and he passed away on 10th December 1966. Yes, he is the one who has written this story, The Letter to God. And when we talk about the story, we will move ahead to the characters. The characters of the story are Lencho. Lencho is the main character of the story. Lencho is the one who was a poor farmer and he lived with his family on the crest of a low hill. Yes, he was also a firm believer of God and he was innocent, hopeful, caring, and responsible. How the author, that is J.L. Fuentes, has elaborated these characters will go through in the text. Next, we have the next character as the postmaster, who was a fat, amiable fellow, and he has helped Lencho to retain the faith that Lencho had in God. The postmaster gave a part of his salary in the charity for Lencho on behalf of God. And we also have the post office employees. Post office employees were the people who helped Lencho on the postmaster's call, and they were the ones who laughed at Lencho when they saw that the letter was addressed to God, because obviously no one writes a letter to God. But they helped him in his need. And finally, we see that Lencho was the one who called them a bunch of crooks. Now we'll move ahead with the chapter. The chapter starts with Lencho, who has been described as the farmer, who had a field of ripe corn, and the field was totally dotted with flowers. Lencho was waiting for a downpour and or at least a shower. He was eagerly waiting that it should rain cats and dogs, or it should rain at least a shower, so that his crops can grow well. And literally he was very much happy to see the huge mountain of clouds, but all of a sudden strong wind began to blow with large hailstones. And when the hail started to rain for approx an hour, the ripe cornfield was totally white, as if anyone, if they see the field for the first time, they will see that the field is covered with a huge amount of salt. They will think that the field is covered with salt, and for these hailstones the corn was totally destroyed, and the hail has left nothing. And similarly, Lencho did not understand what to do. He was totally helpless. And this is a normal human mentality. When we are helpless, we ask help from God. So he had faith in God, and that's why he immediately decided that yes, I'm going to seek help from God. And in order to that, he wrote a letter to God demanding 100 pesos. He said that God, I need a letter, I need 100 pesos, I need to run my family. And he wrote the letter that God, if you don't help me, my family and I will go hungry this year, and I need 100 pesos. I In order to save my field again and to leave until the crop comes, because the hailstorm has totally destroyed my crops. Now, students, I repeat that peso is the local currency of this particular area. When the postmaster read the letter, now the letter is written. Now, the postman or the postmaster is supposed to receive the letter. When the postmaster read the letter, which was addressed to God, he could not stop himself laughing. He was literally laughing as if, how can a person be so stupid that he is writing a letter to God? And the letter was addressed to God. Fine. Now the postmaster received the letter and he started laughing that how can a person be so stupid that he is writing a letter? But the postmaster was so dedicated to help Lencho that he collected 70 pesos from his friends. Friends means it can be his own friends, it can be the post office employees, as if he is doing a charity. Along with that, he himself gave a part of his salary. Now, like this, he collected 70 pesos. Now, the following Sunday, Lencho came to collect the money. But as soon as the postmaster handed him over the letter, the envelope contained 70 pesos, which made him disappointed. Lencho was too much angry and he again wrote a letter to God demanding the rest of the money. Where he wrote that, yes, God, I had full faith on you. I know that you have sent me 100 pesos, but now I received only 70 pesos. And I know that the post office employees, he has called those particular employees as the bunch of crooks, as I already said in the starting of the video, because according to Lencho, God has sent him 100 pesos because God never disappoints their believer. So God has sent him 100 pesos, but the 30 pesos were stolen by the post office employees. That's why he called them a bunch of crooks. So he asks God and he suggests God not to send the money through post office, but through any other means. So like this, he has written 2 letters to God, and finally he says God not to send the letter or not to send the rest of the money through any other means. Now we'll see a quick highlight of what the other chapters, the total chapter is all about. The chapter says that Lencho's hope of good rain. Yes, we saw that he had a good hope that there should be rain to have good crops. It rains, but the rain soon changes to hailstones. The rain started, but the rain soon changed to hailstones. Lencho has firm faith in God. That's why he wrote the letter. And Lencho writes a letter to God to help him, and he asks God to send him 100 pesos. I repeat, peso is the local currency of those area. The postmaster and the other employees laugh at Lencho's letter to God, whereas postmaster decides to help Lencho in his problem afterwards, and the postmaster wants each and every employee to help in this noble deed, and the postmaster collects 70 pesos and gives the envelope to Lencho himself, and Lencho gets angry after getting the 70 pesos amount, as he had already asked for 100 pesos. And finally Lencho calls the post office employees as a bunch of crooks because he thinks that they have stolen the rest of the amount. And he says that he again writes a letter to God to send him the rest of the money, and because he thinks that the magnanimity of the God never betrays the trust of a believer, and he says that yes, God has tested us and God never betrays the trust of a believer. So like this, he with the hope that God will send 30 pesos again, he writes the second letter. So that's it. That's why the chapter is named as the letter to God. I hope you all have understood the chapter. Thank you.